There's so many things quite fascinating about paintings of people reading. For one thing, there's a reflective inwardness to the paintings of reading, since more than just being paintings of people in books, they're paintings of an inward act, the engagement or merging of self and book that opens so many portals and new worlds. It's that opening of worlds that is often the subject of paintings and does make the painting special. Recognize the Delft blue? This is Vermeer. And because the focus is on inward experience, perhaps paintings of reading gently nudge the whole world of painting towards a more acute registering of human subjectivities, of inward lives, rather than surface. And this painting is by Camille Corot. And this is Fragonard, who understood even when young, reading is a huge part of how we become who we are. I love the concentration and intensity of her involvement in her reading. She has the hands of a poet or of a dancer, the human form divine. Her absorption in the text feels almost sacred, and so it should. This is Correggio's painting of a young St. Catherine as she is training herself to transform the world. And here's Van Eyck's Mary as she is enthroned in heaven, perhaps reading her own story in a gorgeous and sublime circularity. I don't think I will ever find words to express what Van Eyck achieves here. So all I can do is exclaim in wonder, just look at her face. And reading can inflame us with much more than spiritual fire. She is reading something sizzling that pours acetylene on the love letters laying upon her table. And of course, it's the intensely romantic and desire and love-soaked letters of Heloise and Abelard. And so we see their passion transfigured from words, as they are emblazoned on her face and on her body. And reading empowers. Waterhouse, towards the end of his life, kept repainting Circe, fascinated by the way she gathers strength as a person and sorceress, becoming fully herself even within the confines of her craggy isle. She has been reading her charts as intensely, and it shows. And this is the fabulous and underrated Evelyn de Morgan. Her sorceress has been studying Paracelsus and other classics, finally transforming words into potions. Sometimes it's the moment just after we close the book when the real magic happens, when the words and the knowledge becomes part of us. Here is Corot again. And sometimes reading invokes whole worlds of memory and longing, like a scent in the air or a taste of madeleines tumbling us into remembrances of things past. But I think her reading is lighting the future. This woman is by the Danish artist Gerda Wegener, and her reflective, pensive, longing look is thinking about this woman, Lily Elba. But that's the subject for another video. I'm enthralled by this Dante, Gabriel, Rossetti. And this Picasso, it seems to me, the reader's brooding, complex inwardness is such an exquisite fit with the intensities and fluidities of Cubism. But I want to pause here and shift gears and focus on the most simple of today's pictures, this 1929 poster promoting reading just as literacy posters do today. But here, we are locked in a single moment, flappers just months from the October crash that would transform the world. And I like the time capsule effect of this one. So let's forget 2023 for a moment and take a plunge into 1929 and hit the newsstands and the bookstores. First stop, the newsstand to pick up the Dashiell Hammett September 1929 Black Mask. In his continental op Black Mask stories, and now Sam Spade character, Dashiell Hammett transformed the literary world. The first-person narrative without a wasted word that still sizzles with an acuity of description and is so immersive you forget you're reading. Hammett was down and dirty. He didn't need to sanitize the world, but it's still sort of gorgeous in its very real, rough, edgy, and transgressive ways. And we're not yet through with Dashiell Hammett in 1929. In his Red Harvest, which also appeared in Black Mask, the Continental Op uses brains and quiet daring to fix an entire city that has become rotten at its very core. It is a stunning performance. Converting trauma to art can take a while. World War I had ended in 1918, but it is the single year of 1929, 11 years later, that three of the greatest war books in all history are published. Robert Graves' memoir, Goodbye to All That, All Quiet on the Western Front, and Ernest Hemingway's A Farewell to Arms. When I was 20, I quietly sobbed for half an hour after finishing it in an overstuffed chair in a library reading room. Only later did I learn that Hemingway had rewritten the final scene 39 times before getting it right. 1929 also saw the publication of Steinbeck's very first book, and Faulkner's The Sound and the Fury was published that year, and perhaps the greatest essay on writing of the 20th century, Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's Own. And I have to throw in Agatha Christie's The Seven Dials Mystery. Why? When it's certainly not her best mystery, because there's real value in a time capsule approach to reading. It brings history alive. It's a portal of discovery, knowledge, even compassion when we find out about their lives. It gives real insight to a particular moment in time. All of these 1929 books, from Dashiell Hammett to Graves to Faulkner to Woolf to Christie, are disturbing in their ways. All of them reflect the values of that fascinating time. One of Christie's strengths is to play with the prejudices and cliches of the time till you rush to judgment, then realize you were wrong all along, and prejudices were just that. We become better readers of the world through Agatha Christie's writing. Where am I going with this? Well, I'm probably the last person on earth to realize that sensitivity readers have recently taken their scissors to the works of Agatha Christie, cutting out the offensive bits and substituting their own words. Now, tampering with the texts of any of these books is a disfiguring of history. It's a contemptuous smear of smug ignorance over art, as if art should ever be tame or easy or not challenging or not disturbing. Think of Hemingway, who offends and challenges with every book he writes, which is exactly what literature should do. Hemingway rewrote that last scene 39 times. Can you imagine the arrogance of a sensitivity reader having a go at that scene? It's like zombies running amok with scissors who believe they're performing a social good. Speaking of literature as intrinsically disturbing, and I'll back that up, and speaking of zombies and 1929, I'll finish with a plug for another favorite from that year. This one by the always offensive William Seabrook, and I do mean offensive. It's his 1929's The Magic Island. All zombie writing and films lead back to that wellspring of a world amiss. As to sensitivity rewrite of Magic Island, it's all offensive, so better just burn the book. But I love Seabrook's book, and I love rereading the books of writers who care about each word, and viewing the work of artists who catch with images the complex and layered beauty of reading. Leave Agatha and Ian alone, and thank you for watching.